Hey guys, MaliciousCompliance here. I don't know why I have headphones on. I don't need them on. For today's subreddit, r/MaliciousCompliance. And today, I have 4 stories lined up for you. 3 mediums and 1 large. It's gonna be a nice. I'll be all the way down. Let's hop into our large story. If we want your input, we'll ask for it. Period. A few months ago, a new business investor at work came on board as a manager, and he has been an absolute hard butt. He is cracking down on anything he considers to be a waste of time, and he is unforgiving. After a week of watching us work, he and the other managers held a company-wide meeting to iron out some wrinkles in the company that he observed since he started. It wasn't an open dialogue though. In fact, that's one of the things he wanted to wrinkle out. It was essentially just 20 minutes of it's our way or the highway. Deal with it. The line, if we want your input, we'll ask for it. Period. Really stuck with me though. And it was made abundantly clear afterwards that it was directed at me. The company has had a big problem recently with employee turnover, and I was in the position to know why, since I interact with everyone through my role. Essentially, people are quitting because the work they were doing wasn't what they signed up to do. The phrase, if I knew this is what I would be doing, I wouldn't have accepted the job, was a common sentiment. They accepted the job under the impression that they would be serving customers, answering emails and phone calls, general customer service stuff, but instead they spend about 90% of their time in a hot warehouse packing online orders over and over again. I shared that with management. I let them know what the people leaving were saying, in case they wanted to take that into account moving forward. They just faked me and I left, but the new manager hated so much that he decided to make a meeting about giving them unsolicited advice. They spoke with me privately afterwards and referred back to when I told them about what the quitting employees said. They told me that the way they interpreted that was that I was implying they were being deceitful when hiring people. I told them no, I don't think that at all. I was just relaying what those people were saying about how they felt. They didn't care. They doubled down and said again, if we want your input, we will ask for it. Period. That's how I knew it was directed at me. I asked them for clarification, like what constitutes advice or input. And the new boss said, unless you are asking us a question about the work you're supposed to be doing, we don't want to hear about it. We don't want your opinion on how you think we should handle situations. We don't want your ideas on how you think the business can be better run. We don't want gossip about what other people are saying about us. Just focus on your job. Fine then, I'll roll with that. No problem. I've worked for them for years and they've always appreciated my ideas, opinions, and input until that point. But hey, if they don't want my input anymore, that's their choice, and I'll respect that. I knew it was just the new boss saying that stuff, since this sort of attitude with them only started when he did. But the others either agreed with him, or were too intimidated to disagree. Either way, whatever. I complied with their request. Since then, the problem hasn't been fixed. We've had 2 more people come and go, both of them because they didn't sign up for this. Shocker. A third one started about 5 weeks ago, and he has taken his frustration in a different direction. I've overheard him complaining over and over again to other people about how he didn't sign on to stand around in a hot warehouse for hours packing online orders, but instead of quitting like everyone else, he just got angrier and angrier. And then he hulked out. I was upstairs at my desk when I started to hear smashing. I went down to the warehouse to see what's going on, and this guy was taking customers' packages and smashing them out of frustration. A few others in the warehouse gathered and just watched in amusement. It was like something out of a cartoon. The new boss heard the commotion, came down. Long story short, the guy was fired, and I was asked if I knew why he flipped out. I said, I don't know what happened exactly to cause him to flip out, but I know that for weeks he's been complaining about not signing up to work at a hot warehouse for hours. Maybe he just reached a tipping point about it. Not sure. And he said, well, why didn't you tell us? So, of course, I said, because last time I told you that employees were complaining about that, you accused me of implying that you were being deceitful when hiring them. Then you told me to stop gossiping. He literally had to eat crow a bit on that, which was just so forking delicious to witness. But I was also reprimanded for taking the request too literally, and he accused me of being petty. Whatever though, I don't care, because I had to adjust the stock levels for the goods that had to be replaced, and they lost about $10,000 in the rampage. Some of the items that were smashed worth $2,000 each. Learning that made the whole thing worthwhile. Perhaps that does make me petty. Ooh, $10,000 smashed. Well, like, were these like ceramic pots or something? Like, you got the big pot, grabbing it and yanking it down? Or are we talking like computer parts? Like, there's many ways you can have something expensive. I would lean more towards the computer parts, or at least something more fragile, maybe glass. I'm not an expert on object pricing. What I am an expert on, though, is reading stories. Let's move on to our next one. I can't give students a 0 for using AI unless I have proof. No problem. I'm a high school English teacher. I have two major annoyances when it comes to kids doing work. First, a lot of kids don't read or listen to directions. Assignment instructions are written on their papers, and I read them out loud. But I still have students asking me, why? That's no big deal though. It's a pretty normal thing to deal with as a teacher. The real issue bugging me is students cheating on writing assignments using ChatGPT. I'm pretty good at spotting AI-generated essays, but the problem is that when I try to accuse students of using AI, they deny it. They act outraged that I would accuse them, even though we both know they're playing dumb. I usually just give them a 0 and move on with my life, but there's always the fear that one of them might take the issue to administration. If they did, I'm not confident that admin would back me up. It's hard to prove something is AI generated, and these days, the higher ups are more likely to side with the student. So, I hatched a plan. I gave an open-ended creative writing assignment. The direction said to write a story about anything you want, and then answer some questions about the story you wrote. The thing is, when you ask ChatGPT, tell me a story, it always spits out the exact same story. About a girl named Lara who lives in the woods. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, there lived a young woman named Alara. She was known throughout the village for her curiosity and sense of adventure, always eager to explore the world beyond the familiar paths of her home. So, in slightly smaller print, under the instructions, I wrote, if your main character's name is Alara, minus 99 points. Lo and behold, I got one or two kids turning a story about a girl named Alara who lives in the woods. When I turned back the papers with a grade of 1 out of 100, because I find that it stings more than a 0, the kids predictably asked why, and all I had to do was point to the instructions that they didn't read. There was no need to mention AI. We both knew what they did. For people saying they tried ChatGPT and got a different story / name, I don't know why it's inconsistent. All I know is that I get the same story every time, and so do my students. The paragraph I put in the post was copied from ChatGPT directly. I discovered all this when a student submitted that same story earlier in the year for a different creative writing assignment. Man, I hate how it's like the students basically be like, I cheat using ChatGPT, and then I lied to my teacher. Like, what is wrong with that? I feel like schools should ban the usage of AI. Like, not all AI, but like stuff like ChatGPT. Like, at least to the students. If teachers, like, if they're really struggling to come up with a lesson plan and stuff like that, could use ChatGPT, but on the other hand, it could have that same situation of students complaining about the teachers getting to use AI and they can't. It's like, we know you're going to use the AI to cheat. Let's get away from AI and get back to the books, shall we? Work done by the book? Fine. I'll follow every rule. So, I work at a company that prides itself on having a detailed, overly complicated policy manual for everything. We've got rules for rules, basically. My manager, let's call him Dave, is the kind of guy who loves micromanaging. He's constantly hovering over our shoulders, pointing out every tiny mistake we made, saying, if it's in the manual, you must follow it. One day, Dave sent me an urgent email asking me to finish a big project before the end of the day. Normally I do it my usual way, efficiently and with a bit of common sense. But Dave insisted that I strictly adhere to the manual, since it was a high visibility project and he didn't want any mistakes. Oh, Dave, you shouldn't have said that. I pulled out the manual and went full compliance mode. 1. Every procedure, no matter how small, was followed to the letter. Normally, I'd skip pointless steps, like writing a detailed log for every 10-minute task. Not this time. I logged everything. Starting a document, log it. Saving the file, log it again. Changing font size, yep, log. 2. Requests for approval. Oh, absolutely. The manual says certain steps need managerial sign off. So I emailed Dave at least 5 times throughout the day for approvals. Hey Dave, just confirming font size 12 is acceptable. Please reply so I can continue. Hi Dave, should I use blue headers or red headers as per policy section 14.3.2? 3. Breaks were strictly enforced. Policy states we get 2 15-minute breaks and a 1-hour lunch. Normally I work through a bit of lunch to get things done, but not today. At 12 sharp, I dropped everything and left my desk. I also spent 15 minutes at exactly 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. resting. Number 4, every department had to be involved. The manual said I needed sign-offs from IT, HR, and marketing for certain sections, even though they had nothing to do with the project. I looped them in with formal requests, dragging out the timeline. By the end of the day, the project wasn't finished. I spent so much time complying with the manual that I didn't even get halfway through. Dave was furious and asked why it wasn't done. I calmly explained that I followed every single policy and procedure in the manual, just like he instructed. I even showed him the email chain proving he approved my steps. After that, Dave stopped breathing down my neck and started letting me work how I wanted. Lesson learned. Sometimes the best way to fix a broken system is to show exactly how broken it is. That's one way to fix it. It's like, okay, you want this work done in a day for something that won't get done in a day if I follow every policy in your rules. Sorry, I didn't finish it because you have a hard-on for following the rules. And we're not just following the rules at the workplace. We're gonna follow it with cars as well. Don't like the way I park? Fine. I'll follow the rules exactly. A couple of months ago, I had a run-in with the self-appointed HOA enforcer of my neighborhood. Let's call her Linda. For context, I don't live in the HOA community, but Linda likes to pretend we do. She's the kind of person who leaves passive-aggressive notes on cars, knocks on doors to complain about lawn heights, and calls the city for violations that don't actually exist. The issue started because I parked my car on the street in front of my house. It's perfectly legal, and I've been doing it for years without any complaints. But apparently, Linda decided that my car was an eyesore. One day, I found a note tucked under my windshield wiper that said, "This is not a parking lot. Park in your driveway like a respectful neighbor. Don't make me involve the city." It annoyed me, but I shrugged it off and kept parking where I always do. That wasn't good enough for Linda. The next time, she confronted me in person. "I've told you before, no parking. Parking on the street is inconsiderate. You have a driveway. Use it. It's legal to park here, and I'm not blocking anything." "It doesn't matter. It's ugly and makes the neighborhood look bad. Park in your driveway, or I'll report you." That's when I decided, fine. If she wants me to park in my driveway, I'll park in my driveway. But I'll follow every single rule to the letter. You see, my driveway is small. If I park my car in it, it blocks the sidewalk. Technically, it's against city ordinances to obstruct the sidewalk. So the next day, I pulled my car right into my driveway. Perfectly centered. And guess what? It completely blocked the sidewalk. It didn't take long for Linda to notice. She marched up to my door, red-faced and furious. "You can't block the sidewalk, that's illegal." "Oh, I thought you wanted me to park in my driveway." "Not like that, park properly." "There's no other way to park in my driveway without blocking the sidewalk. Guess I'll have to park back on the street then." Her face was priceless. She spun for a moment before storming off. Thinking that was the end of it, I parked back on the street. But no, Linda wasn't done yet. She actually called the city on me. A week later, a city inspector came by. He checked out the situation, saw that my car was legally parked on the street, and told me I was doing nothing wrong. However, he did mention that Linda had made several complaints about code violations in the neighborhood, and they were getting tired of the nonsense. After that, I didn't hear from Linda for a while, until last week when she started parking her car on the street in front of my house. So I did what any good neighbor would do. I called the city and reported it. Turns out her car was slightly too close to a fire hydrant. She got a ticket. Malicious compliance never felt so sweet. So she just decided to park in front of your house. And of all things, she was parked too close to a fire hydrant. Talk about revenge, or like pettiness backfiring in a way that gets her in the crossfire. It's just like, why would you park in front of someone else's car or house? There's no reason to. There's no reason to do so. Anyways, on that backfire of a note, links will be in the description to both my channels and the Twitch for you guys to go check out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. A ding, a ding. And Mad Scientist, out.